Life isn't only black and white. Somewhere in the grey lies the truth, where perspectives collide and stories connect. Welcome to the Black, White and Grey podcast. Let's have a conversation. Today we've got Mr. Jared Whitaker, author, advocate for mankind. What does that compile of for people that don't know you?
So I literally try and help men primarily going through issues like domestic abuse, false allegations, parental alienation, the stuff no one wants to talk about and the stuff that's kind of hidden in the shadows. Just try and help support them, raise awareness, educate them, educate other people about what's happening, and just being there for them, because there are very, very few places out there for men for this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, it's one of those almost like taboo things for us as guys where, I don't know if it's the ego that takes over and we don't speak up, or we just don't feel that the support network's there, or, because we might feel like we're judged. How do you go about doing such things, really, just to support men?
So I think when I started doing it, kind of one of the big things I did was to say, men don't talk about this stuff, right? We naturally are programmed to keep things inside. You know, it's this whole social stigma that we don't talk about our things, we just get on with it. And when I started writing my first book, I had a lot of guys coming up to me when I started telling them about it, saying, I'm writing a book about this because this is what happened to me. I was a victim of domestic abuse for over a decade. And guys just started opening up to me. Oh, this happened to me, this happened to me. And I realized that I'm probably the complete opposite of what you would think a victim looks like, you know, in terms of a guy who's going to get attacked or beaten up by a woman. You know, I'm big, I'm tattooed, I'm bearded. I'm completely the opposite of what you would think.
Yeah, you are quite a tall man. You're not short.
People are not going to look at me and think, oh, he got beaten up by a little woman. So I chose to stand forward with that rather and say, you know what, if it can happen to me, then it can happen to anyone. And maybe you can take something from that, you know, maybe a smaller guy can look at it and go, well, if it can happen to him, it can happen to me, and there's no shame in it. And ultimately there is no shame in it because someone is doing something to you. So, you know,
I think that's the word there. The key word is shame. I think when Michael initiated this podcast is discussing on how males are sort of, I suppose they don't come forward when it comes to emotion. But is it due to shame? Is it due because you feel totally embarrassed to be in that position?
It's weaponized masculinity against yourself, right? It's like a binding weed around you. You should just be able to take more because it's just a small woman giving you some problems at first. So it's like, you can take it. She's not knocked you out. You've not lost a tooth or whatever, and therefore it's all in your head. If you can take a bit more, you're probably more masculine because you can take on more water. But obviously we know that that's not.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of that and, you know, society just expects men to take more. You know, your grandfather went to war and he got his leg shot off and he just got on with it the next day, you know, and you know, men must kind of just plow forward. And there's so many weird intricacies, like when men do speak up, then they often get shut down by these like militant feminist groups who say, oh, you know, you're taking away from women, and no one wants to do that. No one wants to take away from women. They just want to get help for men. But you know, again, it's shame. You just think like, oh, I'm such a loser. I'm not a man. And it gets used against you. So it happened to me, and it happened to a lot of the guys I interview, where their partners use it against them. If you tell people, they're going to think you're pathetic. If you tell the police, they'll think it's you. If you know, and they use that actively to keep you under control.
So let's go on the backstory a bit, because as I'm picking up on what I'm receiving, and I don't think a lot of people are, because it could go over their head. What is your actual backstory in terms of being in would you call it an abusive or just a domestic relationship, a domestically challenged relationship?
So in my case, highly abusive.
Highly abusive, cool, please.
So I was in a relationship for a long time. And the thing with abusive relationships is, I always say this in all the talks I give and all the workshops I run, you don't sit down for dinner for a first date and your date reaches over and punches you in the face, right? Because you're never ever going to go on a second date. It's this layered approach of abuse where they love bomb you at the beginning. They're the perfect person. They're everything you ever wanted in life. And you think, wow, I've finally met the person I'm meant to be with. And you form quick attachments. Things start moving very quickly. Generally. So we moved in 2 months after knowing each other. We moved in together. I think within a year we were married. you know, and it's just quick, and things creep in and they start to isolate you from friends and family. And the abuse doesn't just start, you know, again, they don't just start hitting you from day one. It takes time for that to happen. So emotional abuse creeps in, criticism, things like that. And they start breaking down your self-worth. You know, it's calling you things, doing things. Financial control is a big one where, oh, I'll have the bank cards. You don't need it because you're going to work every day. What do you need the bank cards for, kind of thing. And eventually you're under this full control. And in my case, it was 4 years into the relationship. And I was sitting in my home office working one day, and she came in and she said something, and I ignored her because it was just this, she had this like rage that she'd always go with and like be really nasty. So I just tried to ignore it. And the next second this fist came round and caught me. And from that point, it just escalated. So when you say you can take more, knives, being hit with poles, curtain rods, try to drive me over a couple of times, you know, beaten badly to the point where I was bleeding, broken bones, broken wrists, broken foot, broken ribs. You know, so it was quite severe.
Yeah, 100%.
But what I've realized with going through and all the work I now do with men is, as men, we don't think of it as abuse until that happens. So when it becomes physical, then we think, oh, maybe I'm being abused. But all the stuff before that is abuse. You know, I had a guy reach out to me and he said, oh, I'm in a relationship and I've been in a relationship for a year, but I don't know if I'm being abused. Can you help me figure out if I'm being abused? And I said to him, well, you need to tell me about the relationship. He said, well, what I've done is I've actually compiled an Excel spreadsheet, which is great because I love Excel spreadsheets. And he said, I've documented everything that's happened over the last year, and maybe you could go through it and tell me if you think I'm being abused. And I thought, yeah, okay, brilliant. I think I got to line 2. And I was like, yeah, you're being abused. Oh, how do you know? Oh, you said you slept in the car for like 200 and something days of the year and you weren't allowed to sleep in the house.
That's
why? Why did you?
No,
because she'd have an argument and kick him out. Kick him out, sleeping in the car tonight.
Can I ask you a question though? It might sound stupid. I know why I'm asking it. It might sound stupid, but you can go. So you technically started with the mental side of the abuse. Well, I say you started. You started receiving the mental side of the abuse. When it got physical, as a man, why didn't you get physical back?
Because you just don't hit women. You know, I was raised that way. You don't hit women.
But what about restraint or anything, or like hands-on? Just asking.
No, actually, the only time I ever did was the last day when I finally left, when I actually grabbed her and stopped her from hitting me because she was beating me so badly, and I literally pinned her arms and said, enough.
Yeah, so I asked that on purpose because I feel that there's this thing where men or males or society feels that if you're being abused as a man, physically abused, you're physically stronger and able to restrain, so you should be able to stop. But what I don't think people understand is principles with mental abuse as well. There's also an element of fear, which is taking over your operation. Yep. And then when you do receive the physical abuse by a woman, there's also shock. And the process is still the same for men as it would be for women, right?
Well, I think also, I mean, an interesting thing, well, hopefully interesting, when I got out of during and when I got out of my relationship, I felt so small, physically small, like really, really small. And I remember I've got a good friend who I train with now at the gym. And when we started training together about 4 years ago, I remember always standing next to him thinking, oh, he's a big boy. I hope one day, I can work hard and get big like him. And I said that to him and he laughed at me and I thought, oh, he's mocking me. He thinks I can't get as big as him. About a year or 2 years ago, we were standing in gym and I stood up next to him and I'm like, Hugh, I'm so much bigger than you.
You saw your size.
And he goes, yeah, I know you are. That's why I keep laughing at you. And he's about 5'9". I'm 6'2". And I'm, massively. And I honestly saw myself physically as smaller than him. And it took me healing and getting over it to actually start seeing who I really am.
Yeah.
So in that relationship, I felt very small and weak and, unable to defend myself. I mean, there's also things that you don't want to rock the boat anymore than you have to. So
I guess she can spin the story as well. If she's well prepared enough to attack you, grind you down, if you raise a fist to her, I'm sure she'll have been pre-prepared for how she was going to take that story and weaponize it as well. So there's the
victim mentality.
They're just people who are manipulative. I don't. They are fully in on being manipulative.
You hit them back and that's it. You're in jail. So I found this out the hard way of being arrested and putting in jail. So that's how I actually got out of my abusive relationship. Is one day she was beating me really badly. It was going on for about 40 minutes. I was cut. My shirt was ripped. I was bruised. And I was literally just walking through the house backwards like this, covering up, trying not to get hit, hitting. And I don't know if you've ever been repeatedly hit in the same place, but it starts getting really tender and really sore. Yeah. And about 40 minutes in, I said to her, enough, I can't. And I grabbed her wrist and I pushed her up against the cupboard. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm calling the police. And I went to go and get my phone. And as I was going up the stairs to get my phone, I heard, help, police, my husband just attacked me.
Yeah, she's absolutely waiting for that.
I thought, okay. And stupidly, I didn't ring the police. I just thought, well, she's called the police. I'll just wait for them to come. Yeah. They got there. I was bleeding, bruised. Now, bear in mind, I didn't have a beard then, and I had hair then. My hair was dishevelled. I was bruised. I was bleeding. My clothes were ripped. They arrested me for domestic violence.
Was that hair in the UK?
In the UK, yeah.
Yeah, it's mental.
Arrested me, took me to the holding cells, spent about 3 hours interviewing me, trying to make me confess that I was the abuser. Meanwhile, I'm purple.
Just because
the solicitor that they gave me, or the whatever they called me, said, have you looked at her? And they said, yeah. Does she have a mark on her? No, not a mark on her. And they said, but look at him. He's saying she attacked him. She's saying he attacked her, but she doesn't have a mark on him. He's purple and bruised.
Read the room.
And they still tried. And eventually at about 3-4 in the morning, I remember it was in February, so it was really cold, and I was in T-shirt and jeans because that's what they arrested me in. Threw me out. Right, okay, you can go. Out you go.
Did you ever think about collecting evidence in your own sort of investigative way where you could be recording or doing anything?
So I did often. So often what I would do is set my phone to voice record.
Yeah.
Or I would take pictures of bruises or whatever, and I would send them to someone and say, can you keep these for me? And then what happened is she cottoned on to it pretty quickly that I was doing this when it was happening. So the house we lived in, she had the master suite and she had the nice bedroom, the ensuite. I had the spare room with the mattress on the floor, and I'd sleep on the floor. There was no lock on the door, and all the time, door would burst open in the middle of the night. She'd grab my phone. She'd demand, she knew the code or whatever, would go through and scour my phone for anything. Is there any evidence? Has he taken anything? Delete.
How did she make you sleep in a different room and she would sleep in a better bedroom in that condition? I know that obviously the abuse was started emotionally, and
this was quite far into the relationship.
Were you guys planning to break up back then when you slept in different rooms?
There were multiple times when I actually did go and see a divorce lawyer once.
Yeah.
And there were multiple times I'd go and stay in a hotel for the night or something. But I think at that point, it just gets to the point where you're just trying to have peace, and you just think, I'll just do whatever, as long as they're not going to blow up, I'll just do anything.
Did she love bomb you on the back of some of, so if she did that, you got to get sleep in the bedroom, would she come back in and inject some a carrot of love back in, or was it consistently
not at that point?
Okay. At that point, it's fine.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question, whether she was coming back and saying, well, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't know what I was doing.
When it first started,
I love you.
And I recorded her rages the first time, and I recorded and I sent it to her, and I said, I actually went on a work trip that day, and I sent it to her and I said, this is how you act. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I never realised. I'll get help. And 2 days later, back to the same thing.
How consistent was she in terms of attacking you? Not just physically, just emotionally. You said the first 4 years.
First 4 years was building up more emotionally and stuff like that. Then once it became physical, it escalated. Yeah. Constantly.
She lost complete respect for you.
I was going to say, she turned to the alpha.
The more they do, the more they realise they can get away with.
Correct.
And then you become a vessel for taking out the anger, right? Like the ground is set, and then it's like, actually, this, she could just take out that white rage that lives with that. It's like, and you're just going to take it, right?
Yeah. And the more they do, the more you'll take.
Did she work?
Yeah, exactly.
She was a housewife.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I guess creates a sense of entitlement then, right, as well, because it's like, actually, I'm living off your resources. Do you have a suspicion she's got to have an origin of why she's projecting this out and then attacking it in you. Did she give any allusion to the backstory that could have possibly justified this?
No, see, the problem with people like this, and I hear it all the time and see it all the time, is they've all got these woe is me stories. Oh, this happened to me when I was younger. Which
I was going to say, doesn't matter.
But it never did happen to them. And actually,
it's just a liar.
They always come and they go, oh, my ex cheated on me and my ex was terrible. And my ex, but meanwhile, it was them doing it to the ex. I guarantee if she goes into another relationship now, she'll be telling them, my ex was terrible and my ex beat me.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's them. It's just their nature. I don't know.
That's a sad
she might
story.
be abusive to someone else. Like
Interesting. It's horrible, but
it's horrible.
There's no difference between man and woman in this case.
No.
This is exactly the way it plays out for a woman who's abused
Both sides,
as well.
yeah.
Exactly the same way. It's the gradual build up with the emotional abuse, the isolation, all of that stuff. Break down your self-esteem, physical. It doesn't change. The only thing that changes is how you get out of it and the support needed.
So, how long ago was that for you? The end of it?
Doesn't end when it ends. So the end of actually getting out of the house physically, 2020.
Okay.
God, that's lucky.
So that was your breaking.
Just before COVID.
That's what we call your
during COVID.
So that was your breaking point. Let's call it that, because you broke when you was that when you got arrested?
Yeah, and the thing, I was very, very scared of getting arrested.
Yeah.
Right? I had a very, very good job in the city. I was very well paid, well respected, and I'd worked hard my whole life to get to that point. So I was very, very scared, because I worked in the financial services industry. I was very scared of getting like a record or anything. So I was terrified of getting arrested. And then when I got arrested, I remember they took me, they processed me, they threw me into the cell. And I thought, this is great. And I fell asleep and I had a nice nap and I thought, she can't get in here.
Yeah, you felt safe.
Yeah, I was safe in there. And people are like, oh, that's weird. And I was like, no, I was safe. I knew she couldn't get in there. Yeah. And the worst thing I'd been fearing happened and I was still alive. And the other thing is, when I was arrested on the Thursday. I had planned in detail my suicide for the Saturday. So she was going somewhere with the kids and I planned my suicide for that Saturday when they weren't there, because I literally couldn't deal with it anymore. Yeah. And then I got arrested. So being arrested is actually one of the best things to ever happen to me, because it saved my life and got me out of it. And now I'm super happy in the life I am.
Do you have children with this one?
Two.
You have 2 kids. Okay.
I've got another question though, to follow up on that, because you touched on a point which was actually, I think people overlook that as well. The societal pressures outside that you've created, obviously, like work-wise, profession-wise. You touched on it as an impact. What other areas in your life did you feel that way, like in terms of family, friends? What was your support network like?
I didn't have a support network, because it's the first thing they get rid of. They isolate you. They stop you seeing friends. They stop you seeing family. They just completely isolate you, because it's easier to control someone who's alone and doesn't have a support network, right? So you're not allowed to see friends. You're not allowed to see family. So for me, it was work. That's all I had. So I was coming into the city every day, working, heading home, get home 8 at night, get off the train, go home, wash the dishes, do the laundry, do the ironing, because I did everything. It's like you're the servant. You're the slave that's there to serve and provide money and things like that. So, yeah, I had no support, none whatsoever.
So do you feel that she was able to almost like backdoor into some of your own vulnerabilities, or was it just masculinity? What I'm trying to understand is, like, was it just sort of an honor code of trying to be what kind of an archetype of male is, or did you have some vulnerabilities that she was able to leach into and that you didn't exert boundaries around initially? Because it's complicated, right? Like, until you really know yourself, you don't start to put boundaries up. Yeah. So did you feel like she was almost like wiring into something where you didn't understand and were sort of accepting the abuse on those terms, or was it just a sort of
both definitely? Yeah. It was the whole kind of, you need to be a man, and and especially when you have children, you need to be there for your children. You need to take whatever, because you don't want your children to come from a broken home, and you have to be there for them and just take whatever. But there were things, clever things that they play into where, they'll start early saying things like, I remember I lived on the same road as my best friend at the time, and we worked in the same company. So every morning I would fetch him on the way to work, and we'd drive to work, and I'd drive him back, and then he'd pay half the petrol. So it was a good thing. You shouldn't do that anymore, because this is, now that we live together, it's the only time you get for yourself, so you need that alone time. And I was like, oh no, it's okay. No, I really don't. And then started getting more and more forceful. I really don't want you doing that. I don't think it's good for you. You won't be able to have a healthy relationship if you don't have any alone time. And now, obviously, looking back, she was trying to isolate me and remove me from that relationship. And that relationship did fall apart because she kept putting wedges in, and I lost my best friend. Then she started doing it with my family, and they just wedge you apart slowly. But they do it in a way that it makes it seem like they're caring about you and they're doing it for you. But only when you look back and see, okay, they had this whole plan from the start.
Of course.
That sounds so
How many
crazy.
times? It is crazy.
But does it surprise you
sounds
as
so
a
crazy.
woman that this can happen?
It honestly, it did. I was really intrigued to meet you. One, because I knew you were going to be a big guy, and I'm quite small compared to you.
It wouldn't even matter, to be honest with you. You could be 6
Physically,
foot.
emotionally, like I thought, surely not. And then I heard, obviously, you were South African. There's like South African men are slightly more, I'm the man of the house and macho that, the stereotype thing. So now I was like, I need to understand this. This is at which point did this man? How can it happen? How is that even possible? Because you just basically all these stereotypes, you completely just broke it. It's just not something that you would expect, and hence why when you went to the police station, they probably thought, no, this guy's definitely lying. Maybe she just had a day today because she's sick of getting being up by this man. But I'm so upset on your behalf for being a victim but it seems like it was planned, it was premeditated. And this is why I can't get into my mind. It's like, how can somebody, it doesn't matter man or woman, do that to another human being? You plan to destroy them. You slowly chip away self-esteem.
Three interesting things to say on that, I think.
Crazy.
One is about a year before I got arrested, I actually went to the police because I was going to report it. I built up the courage and I went to the police, and I went in and I said, I'm being abused at home by my missus. And they laughed at me. And they said, come on, man, get out of here. Stop wasting our time.
Yeah, it sounded like you're a Looney Tune.
And I left because I just thought, well...
Which part of the UK was that?
Southeast.
Southeast.
It's funny because I'm going to look at you now and be honest. If you came to me like that as your friend, I'd say, what are you talking about?
Exactly, yeah.
And if she's short and small... What are you talking about?
But this is the power of social stigmas that you can create this thing that, what are you talking
about? Even
about?
I had a colleague, she was from Romania. She was like, come on, how can a man get beaten up by a woman? Yeah. She said that a few months ago. And then because we've been discussing cases and stuff, and on Netflix there is actually a show of men being victim of violence.
Richard Spencer.
Yeah.
So Richard and I talked to each other quite a lot.
There was a guy that was,
fantastic.
She burned him with hot oil, some stabbed him, she broke his leg. Anyway, and he was so much bigger than her. And then my colleague was like, you can just grab her, just lift her up and then just throw her on a sofa, just do something. I mean,
do you know what it is?
And then, but then they forget that there's the emotional side. Before they get physical, like you've stated beforehand, they chip away you emotionally. Like you might feel that you're weaker than her.
They turn you into a little child that they can control.
Yeah.
But every single time I give a talk to whether it's a men's group or I host workshops once a month, anything, I tell my story because I always tell my story first to let guys feel more comfortable that, okay, it's happened to him, whatever. Every single time, whether there's women on the call, men on the call, I get messages. Oh, I think we dated the same person. Oh, was her name this? Was his name this? Always the same. It's the same pattern and it's the same behavior. So my theory, it's not a real theory, my theory is there's like a Harry Potter school for these people. And they get taken off, right, when they're like 13. They get taught all these horrible things and they get sent back into society. We don't know anything about it because we don't get chosen for the school. Because they all do the same things. They say the same things. They act the same way. It's just...
And I think they are
scary.
Intensely narcissistic people who also see themselves as victims. And there's no... Yeah. This is the danger, right? And this is part of my concern with the moral arbitration that takes place in society at the moment, is people categorize themselves into having stuff done to them or doing stuff to other people. And those that feel stuff is done to them, there is no degree of retribution they don't feel justified in. Yeah. Because they go, stuff's happening to me, so fuck you. You can take as many beatings as you want because I feel I'm owed.
It's the standard saying, I reacted how any normal person would react. And when you start studying narcissistic abuse and narcissistic personality disorder and you look at the checklist of what are the things that dictate if someone has MPD or not,
it's a mental health
standard. You were going to mention 3 points.
Yeah, so it was that one about going to the police. It was about the Hogwarts school of narcissists. And, you say it's so shocking that could happen to a guy. So last official Office of National Statistics has just under 800,000 men in the UK every year getting domestically abused. And the other brilliant statistic is only 28% of men actually come forward about abuse. So if you do some basic maths, you're looking at a few million every year. And the way I always try to put it into perspective with people is say, even if you just take the 800,000, think of sitting in Wembley Stadium when it's full, and 8 of those full, and that's every single one guy, and that guy's getting abused that year.
Of course. And I think as you've described abuse as well, just on you could just do it on the basic level of being a guy, and the expectancy of turning up as a man, because the woman's like, you're a guy, you're supposed to do it. And it could just be the smallest things, but they are all levels of abuse from just the basic level, tying with your emotions. And then you go all the way to your case, which they would classify as extreme, where it's all physical and breaking you down to get out of the house.
Well, it's projecting you out as something that you haven't contracted to be, right? It's like saying, as you say, you're a man, do this. It's like, I'm a person, I might be able to do that. I may want to do that. I may want to voluntarily endanger myself, but I'll think about it.
Because I have a choice.
Yeah, because I don't naturally, for instance, if our partner's got into a squabble in a bar fight and you stand up to defend your partner and my partner goes, well, go, what did he just fucking say to me? Go speak to him. And I go, yeah, you're a big guy.
Yeah.
We need to be diplomatic about how we reason through this. But it's like, and that's why it's funny, right? Like sometimes, I don't know if you guys have felt this, but you get into that thing of your partner will say, why didn't you say something to them? And you go, because the rules of engagement are very different for us.
Yeah.
If I go, the fuck are you looking at? It's like, you won't offer the same restraint that you did to your female partner that you will to me. Yeah. We'll get into it quickly and that will be a problem for me.
I'm like, why didn't you chat to him?
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't you chat to him?
Well, I always say to people in my YouTube videos and stuff, I say, if any guy thinks like, oh, this guy's a pussy because he got beaten up, well, come tell me to my face.
Exactly.
More than happy. Come on.
Yeah, and that's the crazy
no one's
thing.
going to.
Nah. And that's the funny thing, right? Because, and this, I was going to touch on it earlier, just the man on man, it's almost the same thing in our kingdom of just masculine energy. A small man can be bigger in their head than the biggest man in the room and be stronger than them just through straight energy and confidence, right?
Yeah.
And
that's Scarface energy, isn't it?
Scarface energy. And that's also psychologically breaking things, breaking them.
But it's when you can be you and when you're comfortable with yourself. So I'm 43 now. And for the first basically 40 years of my life, I've never felt like me. I've always felt like I'm trying to fit in, please someone, do something.
Yes.
And now I feel like I'm me. I'm confident and I can walk around. I can do the things I want to do. I quit the corporate world because actually I didn't want to be in the corporate world. It wasn't what I ever dreamed for my life. I just did it because it would, paid well. And
it's like a double dose of control, right? Like the corporate world would have been controlling you as much as your home life. Yeah. You need to, Jared, you haven't done this. This task needs to be done. Keep doing,
and
keep
then you're
delivering.
Stuck between because, I remember the worst thing for me was, you need to be paid more. Go in and tell your boss you need more money. I remember going to my boss twice in the span of 3 months saying, I need to be paid more. I work really hard. I need to be paid more. And it's embarrassing. It's like you're going, you're like, oh, sorry, I need to, my wife says I need to be paid more.
Yeah.
And, it's just always more. So you've got this fear of going to work because they want you to get more. And you've got fear of work finding out what's happening to you. And I would go into work, I'd come in with a broken wrist, or I'd come in with bruises, and I'd come in limping. And then it'd be, oh, what happened to you? Oh, football. I played five-a-side football last night. And I still think, surely someone knew. Surely something new. Something was up.
No.
But they're just like, oh, he's a guy. Never mind.
Do you know what? What was home life like growing up? Because you mentioned, like you said, for the first 40 years, you kind of felt lost and didn't really know who you were. So as a child growing up, was there anything there that you can identify, looking back on it in hindsight, that kind of aided not giving you that strength?
Yeah, I didn't have a good relationship with my mother at all. And I think that kind of set the scene for being treated badly by a woman for me, like thinking that's normal.
Yeah.
And my mother was very much the dominant one in the relationship with her and my father. Not abusive, like he was very much like stood up for himself kind of thing, but she was definitely the dominant one. But I had a very bad childhood. Like I got beaten up all the time at school, bullied really badly. Like I hated school, like I absolutely hated it. I'm autistic as well, and normal school just didn't work well for me. I'm intelligent, but just the way engaging with people, I hated it. I'd cry all the time about not wanting to go back to school. Hated it. And actually, when I moved to the UK when I was 16, it was really good for me because I said to myself, I can rewrite this. I can rewrite it and be someone different. And actually, when I was at school in the UK doing my A-levels and that, I had loads of friends. It was really nice and I really enjoyed it. I probably also enjoyed it because it was boarding school and I was kind of away from home. And
of course.
But I just have not had a pleasant life until now.
Really. And that's what it did. It sounds like there was challenges, which is what you've highlighted.
Yeah, generally there is something that kind of kickstarted, but again, that just enables these people, these abusers and narcissists to kind of hone in on you and be like, it's like a lion looking at a herd of zebra and they're like, okay, that's the weak one. We'll go for that.
Yeah.
And, it just helps them. It makes it easier for them. But I think it can happen to people who have had the perfect life as well, just less likely to.
Yeah. What happens in reverse, right? Like, and look, none of this conversation, as you said, is discounting female abuse, which we know is like rampant and it's a huge problem. But it's interesting that men who abuse, if a woman's got good boundaries and says, no way, no, whatever you're doing, no, absolutely not. The guy, as you say, will go and find another victim or find somebody who's more victim-like to him because they won't
suits the narrative that he's looking for.
Yeah. As soon as somebody goes boundary, they go, it's too much like hard work. It's like what we were saying about the defending your property in South Africa. Of like, if you've got slightly more security in your property than the one next door, have a guess what? People go find the one next door.
Exactly. It's they want to find people that they know it's easy to manipulate, easy to break down. But people can change as well. So we actually know someone who, I won't give names or whatever, but she was in a relationship with a guy and he physically like grabbed her and pushed her away and she said, nope, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Kicked him out, like not dealing with that. And now she's in a mega abusive relationship where the guy is abusing her badly and she keeps taking him back. So you can see the change there. Like maybe that softened something in her to make her more susceptible. I don't know, but...
Well, so it's interesting because your work steps in to help the victims and I think lots of good work does. But it's always downstream of the perpetrators. Like, how do we go to the Hogwarts and start to amend these people? Can they be helped? Are they just natural abusers? Do they change at all? It seems like they don't, but...
I think there's two. You have to look at it 2 different ways. So there's abusers and then there's narcissist abusers, right? You cannot help a narcissist. It's incurable. NPD, forget it. You're not doing anything with it. You can be diagnosed with it. You can get help for it. But how many narcissists do you think come forward and go, oh, I'm a narcissist, I need help? No. They'll make excuses about why it's someone else's fault and whatever. So there's very little help going to happen there. If they're just an abuser and not a narcissist, yes, you can educate them, teach them. I'm personally from the old school of, show up with a baseball bat and do it to them and see how they like it kind of thing. Something has to change. But again, for with the men stuff, the first thing that has to change is the societal view of men can't get beaten up by women or men can't get abused by women, and allow more men to feel more free to say, yeah, this happened to me, more support.
We love that in society, though, don't we? You can't. It's like you could.
Yeah.
A man could be abused by. It's possible.
But I'll tell you what, some of the guys who train with me at the gym who've come to me and said this has happened to them and told me their stories. I mean, some of them make me look positively miniature. And they still like, this happened to me, this, whatever, big guys. And still, this happened to them. It's nothing to do with size. It's about control and power. And
I mean, listen, I've been in some abusive friendships, so to speak. So I get it. And you're like, you've got principles. As a man, I'm not going to put my hands on you because you're a woman. That line... You know that if you put your hands on her, you're going to get its potential, you're going to get arrested. But when the knives come out, you know what I mean? You're like, okay, we're here. And then you start thinking about your life. I've been in them and you're right. You're almost shut down. You're almost in shock. But the work's already been done through the process mentally and emotionally. So yeah, size definitely don't matter, and it doesn't make you any weaker as a man. And I think that's what society kind of paints if you don't get involved. Like, these lot know me, and anybody that does know me, my confidence goes through the roof. But those moments when they happen, you're just like, and you don't know what to do. You're kind of drawn back.
You're a spectator to it, right? I think part of it is like, have you really grabbed a knife? Are you really going to lunge at me? Like, is that what you want from me? Is that how you see me as worthy of just being attacked by, like, so I'm a piece of shit, basically. And you kind of almost are like feeling it out of going, is this what it is? Because as you say, it's more what you're observing, and it becomes like that observation as opposed to like, I'm fighting for my...
And you feel powerless as well.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time my mind was more kind of survive. You know, you're trying to not get stabbed, you're trying to not get killed in front of your children, you know, kind of thing. It's...
How much does love play on both sides? Because, like, there is this general consensus when women keep going back to the abuser, but I love him.
So it's not love, obviously.
Yeah.
But trauma bonding, it's like Stockholm syndrome where, you know, hostages attached to their kidnappers and that. So the problem with these abusers, they're very clever. They'll be like, bam, 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 terrible, terrible, terrible. Oh, you know, I'm sorry, I'll change. And they give you that little bit of love and that little bit of hope that they can change. And it forms that trauma bond that makes it very, very difficult. For me, it was never that. It was always kind of like, well, if you're with someone, you have to stay with them. You shouldn't leave, you know, like, I'm married. I mustn't just give up on a marriage. Like, you know, it was very like traditional kind of views, and there's kids and I need to stay for the kids, and maybe they'll change. Maybe it can be better again. And yeah, that's all fantasy, basically.
Yeah, I want to touch on the kids as well, because I don't think we've spoken about them. How old are they now?
Now, about to be 10 and 12.
And looking at them now, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Going through that process and then looking at them 5 years later, like, how is it for them? And do you feel that they have to go through therapy, or what? Like, are they okay? What do you feel?
I thought that's a great question, because I was thinking about the same thing. They must have witnessed so many.
Yeah, they witnessed a lot.
Yeah.
Luckily, they were much younger when they witnessed it, obviously, because this was a while back. But the worst thing for them, and the thing that's going to mess them up mentally most in life, is not, I don't think, what they witnessed, what they heard, what happened. It's the narrative now getting pushed on them.
So they're still with mother?
Yeah, I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
Has
Game
mother
over, Red
remarried?
Rover.
No.
Oh, so she's by herself.
No. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, but they could be witnesses. But my concern was, like, what if she found someone else, another victim, that she's doing that to them in
either
front
she'll
of the
find
kids?
someone else will do that, or start doing it to them.
Boys?
To them.
Are they boys? Yeah, so, I mean, I've got a few friends in divorced relationships, and some of them don't see their children. And it's almost like the narrative that is pushed on the children is that the man is this and the man is that. Now, I'm not in the house, so I don't exactly know what happened in that relationship. But just that alone, that manipulation alone can't be right.
But how about the physical? What if she gets physical with the kids?
Well, that's different. I mean, that's like literally that's breaking the law, isn't it? And if they can report,
Yeah, but what if they don't say anything? Because kids can
then they get abused.
Yeah, but I don't think none of us can answer that. Because it is just that. But I think emotionally,
she could
just disconnecting.
Transfer to.
But emotionally,
yeah.
I think
have you been in touch with the children?
So I was seeing my children afterwards. Then she threw some lies out saying I tried to murder her, which was the most ridiculous court appearance of my entire life, which was, he tried to murder me. The police arrested him for it. He admitted to it. And they said, don't do that anymore. It's not very nice. And the judge was like, yeah, sounds reasonable. And
so you don't have access to the kids anymore?
So I didn't. Then I kind of went through the whole court system, got access to them again, was seeing them. And then earlier this year, actually, she did the same thing again. And now I don't have access to them. And I can't talk to them until they're old enough to decide for themselves. So the court's side they err on the side of caution. Oh, she's terrified of him and his new partner. So we'll just say you can't see them until they're old enough.
How do you feel about the system?
The current system for men and women is a complete and utter joke. shambles, pathetic. I've got a lot of more choice words that all begin with C that I won't say. Or just absolute garbage.
There's surely a way to fight this, because I just don't understand how can this be acceptable, given that the history that you have and the evidence that you've got.
Lawyer mode.
It just doesn't. So you've watched that Netflix documentary where the guy got abused for 20 years by his wife and he filmed everything?
No, I didn't watch it. I watched it was several documentaries. It was episodes. So there's one that she was a nurse and she used to beat him up. She killed him.
I know.
So he ended up dying.
It's a different one.
She was abusing him for 20 years or so, and then she killed him. Eventually killed him. And then there was another one that she was young, and then he eventually went over 6 years after she stabbed him. She burned him with hot water. There were so many, but it was just several episodes in her. And I was just like,
so the one that's on there now, it was on Channel 5, I think, and now it's on Netflix, called My Wife, My Abuser, and it's a guy. He now does what I do as well.
Yeah.
His wife abused him for 20 years. And they had nanny cams up in the house for the kids, and his friend actually took all the stuff and took it to the police and said, this is what's happening. And I mean, bad, like really, really, really bad physical abuse, as well as everything. I mean, she literally shat on his head and made him rub it into himself and stuff like really, really bad, stuff. And with all that evidence, 20 years, all these camera things, all the stuff she did, she got sentenced 4 years. She served a year and a half.
Yeah, I do think
that's a huge difference between men and women.
No, but I do think that I think it's challenging for sure. It does, you could have all the evidence and it looks pretty obvious what it is. Education though, and I think education is definitely fundamentally lacking, because most of the industries in law, and they're all male dominated, right? But they're also older men from, like you said right at the beginning, from an older school way of thinking. So the education of domestic violence from a woman on a man is seen differently. Yeah,
it's old conservative white men who think that men can't get abused, so he must be lying.
Yeah, so the education has to change.
I mean, the education, the training, the training materials and the things that social workers, court staff, judges, etc. are taught is, if you read the material, it's all, when a man abuses a woman, when he is doing this to her, it's all worded as if it's a man doing it to a woman. So that obviously needs to change, that it's, when a perpetrator or whatever needs to be non-gendered. But what they say, there's no profit in peace. It's a big money industry. The more lawyers you have to pay, and the more court fees you have to pay, and the more, it just keeps the wheels.
But female greased. Domestic abuse is still higher than male domestic on paper.
On paper, yeah.
On paper, statistics.
Because they come forward.
Yeah, I was going to say, statistically speaking.
52% of females report if they've been abused. Only 28% of males report. So, but here's my argument, right? And I always get jumped on for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I know I'm right. Ignore the statistics, right? So let's say 10 million women a year get abused, which is awful. And let's say 10 men a year get abused, right? Those 10 men deserve help.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what, and I always get jumped. Like,
it becomes false equivalency, doesn't it? It's just like, as you say, it should be net zero on all of it. People
just need help. But if I said to you, 1,000 people got killed in Gaza today, and you said, but 2,000 people got killed in New York. Who cares about the people in Gaza? Well, there's 1,000 people still got killed. They need help. They need help.
I also think it's probably the idea of understanding what abuse is, because there's certain things that society will deem men are able to tolerate abusively. Like if a woman's just shouting at you, for instance, about how crap you are as a person, you're not a real man, that line, and you should be able to tolerate it. But then you throw that same energy back at the woman.
That's key.
And then they feel intimidated because you're a man. It's
absolutely
verbally
key.
It's still the same thing.
Absolutely.
And it's still the same abuse, right? But it gets viewed differently based on your masculinity and your femininity. So
and how often I see that, actually. Sometimes I'm in Sainsbury's or Tesco's, and then once I saw a woman speak to her husband or her partner in the most demeaning way. I was like,
Yeah, speak to him like a dog. And that's in public.
And that's in public. I said, in my mind, I was like, what is she doing to him in private? And he, bless him, he picks up the child and he was like, he felt like a poor dog. Like his head was down. And I was like, how dare you? My head was like, how dare you do that to someone?
But it needs women to step in and go, what the fuck is going on?
Imagine it was the other way around and then some guy shouting at his girlfriend. They've probably got five guys there.
No, he's getting arrested. The police are coming, security. He's got everywhere. And
she's like, you're useless anyway. What the fuck are you doing? And I was just like, this is in the middle of the aisle and in a busy Saturday morning.
I mean, a classic one with some big guys. It's like you'll hear the women go, "You big dummy, you big dummy, yeah, you big." It's like
you don't know anything. You're so stupid anyway, or something like that.
Yeah. How do you extricate men that you've identified as being abused now out of their system? So they come to you, go, "I think I'm being abused." You go through the spreadsheet and go, "Yeah, you are."
What happens?
How do you get them out?
The process?
Late night covert ops.
Yeah.
Let's go and have a look.
You can't pull someone out of an abusive relationship. You can only give them the tools to pull themselves out of an abusive relationship.
So you break the spell with evidence.
You have to educate, show them what's actually happening, give them options. Because the problem is, I remember when very close towards the end when I was thinking about this and that I rang one of the helplines and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Refuge. But as a guy, when you ring in one of these helplines like Women's Aid or Refuge or Respect or whatever, their script is, if a guy rings in, you have to ask them these questions because they're most likely the perpetrator trying to make out that they're whatever. And if a woman rings in, you have to help her. Basically, that's how they're scripted are. And I remember getting off that call feeling even worse, thinking like, oh, what the hell? Like, didn't get any help. So I challenge anyone to say, go stand in the middle of London one day and stop people with a clipboard, one of these, what are they called, chuggers, these charity muggers. Stop them and say, name 5 organisations that help women in domestic abuse. They'll probably go, Women's Aid. They'll be able to say one or two. Name some men's ones.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised anyone can.
I don't know any myself.
Anyone can do it.
Do you guys know any?
No.
Yeah. No. I get my TikTok actually is probably the number one thing where I get guys reaching out to me on TikTok like, can I talk to you?
Please tell us what it is. So
please tell us
know.
the 5 organisations that people could go to, males can go to.
No, just tell us yours.
Well, literally on mine is strongmenfoundation.com and on there is a link to everything. My YouTube, which I do like educational videos, my TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all my socials are on there. But like Mankind Initiative is a really good one. They're the biggest in the UK. Abused Men in Scotland I do a lot of work with. They're the only organisation in Scotland for men. There's hardly any. And you know what percentage of funding male organisations get for this kind of thing? 1%. 99% goes to female organisations, 1% goes to male organisations because of this whole, violence against women and girls.
We really need to change. I mean, we need to really inform society of I mean,
ultimately, hopefully one day we can get to the point where it's, if you're abused, call this number.
Yeah, so rather than being a female or male, I think it needs to be just an individual, a human being calls in for an abuse, whether it's a child, a man or a woman, or
if you're a narcissistic abuser, you're quickly identified and expunged from society.
Yeah, but I think it's
difficult because they can camouflage. I don't know. Remember the love bombing at the start?
I think it's difficult.
Remember, there's love. They know how to
manipulate. So this is one thing of why I hate some of the kind of Netflix verse dating shows which encourage people to commit or marry or move forward at an accelerated pace for the sake of TV. It's like get married within 6 weeks or married at first sight, whatever. It's like you could be committing somebody to something with no prior check on that person that could be existentially abusive to them. You need to get to know people, their patterns, their rhythms, their behaviours in certain circumstances.
And your own.
And your own, yeah. So you can see who's triggering who. What's the dance here?
Yeah.
And that's why I've always been super suspicious of things moving too quickly because I'm like, who are you when I'm not around? Who are you when we're not like absorbed in each other's sort of like lust or whatever? And
if you have to change yourself for that person, I mean, this was, so like I said, I got married on Saturday. We've been together 4 years. We've never even had an argument. Like literally never had an argument. We kind of just fit perfectly together. And my main key thing that I said in my speech was nothing fancy about like, you make me want to be a better man or anything like that. It's like, I can just be me. I'm me, and I can actually be authentically myself and she can be authentically herself. And we're not trying to change. Neither of us is trying to change the other person. We're just happy with who we are. Whereas if you take an abusive relationship, you're always trying to be changed and changed and
that
changed
could also
and changed.
take years, right? It could take decades to authentically be you.
That's crazy, actually, because if you change somebody, that person doesn't even recognise themselves enough to stand up for themselves because they don't feel like they're themselves.
Well, like I said, I didn't know. I felt miniature. I felt small. I still remember a really good example, actually, years and years after I got out. So I do strongman, so, like Atlas stones and stuff like that. So I remember one day I came home from gym and I thought, I really need a different pair of shorts for gym. Literally, just this is a weird story, but you'll get the point. I really need a specialist pair of like neoprene undershorts for it. I really need it. And I went online and I was looking and I was like, oh, there's a nice pair, good brand, really good reviews, £40. And I was like, oh, you can't spend £40. You don't deserve £40 on yourself for shorts.
You don't deserve £40.
And I realised, and I was like, and I caught myself and I went, hey, that wasn't me. That wasn't me saying that. And I realised it was her saying it. And even though we hadn't been together for years and whatever, and I realised I was still hearing her voice in my head. And once I spoke with my therapist about that and we did a lot of work on it. And it's learning to hear your own voice again after years and years of that.
And that's also the same thing that happens, which is why I asked you about growing up from your parents and their reinforcements in who they want you to be. When are you ever listening to your own voice? And that's the magic.
Well, this is literally, like I said, I'm 43. It's the first time in my life I feel I can be me. And I feel, honestly, like my life began a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel. Like, the first 40 years was practice or, getting to it. But
do you have any regrets? Do you look back and think, I could have left sooner? There was a door there that I didn't take. There was
any regrets,
an opportunity that I could have taken. I should have met this lady that I'm with now sooner, or do you just curse fate for putting you through that?
We speak about it all the time, my wife and I now, and we speak about it. And, she says, "Oh, I wish we could have," because, like I said, she also went through a really bad time, and we say, "Oh, if we could have met earlier," and I would say to her, I don't regret it because going through all those things put me exactly right where I was meant to be in order to meet her. And if those things hadn't have happened, we would never have met. And, I had to go through shit to get there, but we got there. And same for her. And you wish it could all be, but if any of those things, if I had left a year earlier, if I had not moved to the UK or anything, we would never have met. And we're both super, super happy. And that wouldn't be. Our little girl wouldn't exist. So, sure, it wasn't nice, but if this is the reward for it, cool, I won't change anything.
Well, I hope one day you get to see the other two children as well.
Yeah, I will.
And you can bring the family together. But there's one thing that's always stood out in my head when it was one of my old friends, when he went through a divorce. He's 10 years older than me. No, 20 years older than me. And he was like, all you can do is keep your arms open, your door open, and your heart open. Yeah. And just allow them to walk through the front door and take them for whoever they are. Yeah. And that's all you need to do. So.
It's every month we put a package together, a nice box, and we put in sweets and toys and things and stuff, and we post it to them, and we make sure they get stuff. And
that's all you can do, and you can't hold no resentment for them.
No, it's not their
fault.
It's not their fault at all. Yeah. I literally have been dealing with a guy recently, and he said something to me the other day. I said to him, I don't want to deal with you anymore at all, because he said, "Oh, when I left, and my kids believed my ex, so I disowned them."
Oh, wow.
And I said to him, "Why can you disown your children because they believed a liar? You fell for the liar, which is why you were in the abusive relationship.
You was an adult.
And now you're saying they falling for it, so you're disowning them. Like,
it doesn't work."
And I think there's a lot of this that I'm trying to combat. So Strong Men isn't just about helping men, get out of these situations and healing and that. There's also so many men that have gone through stuff like this, or men that have seen it, that are so bitter and angry, and you've got every right to be angry, right? It's horrible. But when I join some of these groups on Facebook, like, male victims of abuse, and it's just guys posting horrible things about women nonstop, and it's just like, who's that helping? It's not helping anyone. Just take it and try to be positive about it. Like, it's not nice, but move forward, help someone else. And I think as guys particularly, we like helping other people, so the more we help other people with something, the more we feel that we're healing, because we're helping fix something.
Well, as we wrap up, if there's one piece of advice you can give people, just people in general, before they I say before they, just in general, what would it be? What would it be? Because we can't see.
Yeah.
You can't see an abuser in most cases or in some cases. So what advice can you give?
I think the two things I'd say is, one, don't be an arsehole. And that goes for everyone, men, women, whatever, just be nice, be decent, I know that's hard, and the second thing is for everyone, and this is whether you're abused, whether you're an abuser, whether you're just average person on the street, is learn about this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
So learn about these statistics, learn about, and that's why I write these books, so that people can just read it and go, okay, well, I didn't know that happened. And I learnt about it, and, okay, now I've got a bit of an open mind. The amount of people I talk to that say, oh, I didn't know men could be abused. Like, well, of course they can. They're human, and, then...
And they abuse each other a lot.
Yeah.
Men frequently abuse each other through every Friday night at a pub fight or whatever. It's like we're very okay with that happening.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
It's abuse, right? Like any time a bunch of guys across the street say, "Oh, this, that, the other," it's like it's abuse. Like football every fucking Saturday.
Yeah,
people standing there, fuck you guys. It's like that's abuse.
Yeah.
Whether it's in
what we classify as banter is actually a form of abuse.
It's funny.
If somebody doesn't see it as banter.
Yeah.
Someone commented on one of my YouTube videos literally the other day, and they said, no, but as men, we're meant to be able to take this. It's meant to be okay because we give each other grief all the time as friends. And the difference is, I give my friends grief all the time. They give me grief all the time. We're doing it because we like them. It's like a form of love because we both know that it's
But
a joke,
you're both on the same page, right?
Exactly.
It's when one person is not on that page and they
it's not
voice
coming
it.
from a place of...
That's what it is.
So, educate. Just learn, read, watch, whatever you need to do. And you don't have to buy into this whole, like, all women are evil or all men are evil. Just... this is what can happen, and this is how I can spot it, and this is how I can help. That's it.
Thank you. Do you know what? Thank you. And just before we go, actually, where can everybody find your books? Are they Amazon?
All on Amazon,
So
Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, all the usual. But there's links on my website, on Strong Men Foundation. All my books are there, and I've written my story. I've written 5 non-fiction books explaining all the things, interviewing other victims, things like that. And I've actually written 1 novel to put it into perspective, seen through the eyes of a man who's abused.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
So,
Thank you so much for your message.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
Nice. Wrap it up. If you enjoyed the conversation or didn't enjoy it but found it useful, please like, share or subscribe, and we'll try and unpack some more of life's complexities.